Peace, everyone. All right, this is Wednesday, November 30th, 2022. And welcome to the Moroccan Post International School of International Law and for International Moroccan Post School for International Law and Government. Moroccan Post School for Government and International Law. All right, so welcome. Right, we have our tonight's class titled more. This is a course. It's going to be between a 15 to 20 session course that we began on August 24th. We began this course on August 24th, the Moorish Treaty Protection and Consular Relations course, which will be a 15 to 20 session. I think this is session number 9 or 10. All right. And tonight we're dealing with Writ of Quo Warranto, part 1. We're going to be putting together a series of study manuals that will complement the recorded classes. All right. And the first one will be available in February next year. And we'll sell that. Each manual will be sold for $25. Right, so these that'll be coming your way soon. All right, once I get Moors and Masonry part 2, which is coming your way soon. All right, we'll jump right on those series. So we'll put out one every 6 weeks or so. We'll put out a study manual. All right, so this is a school. All right, this is the Moroccan Post School of Government and International Law. Right, so T, you want to present the I can't enlarge it.
Okay, hold on. Let me see what I can do.
Moroccan Post School of Government and International Law. Yeah, so I don't know why I can't enlarge it. Right there, I can see it.
Okay,
but I
so
can't.
let me see.
I'm tapping on it, but it's not enlarging. I don't know why. All right, good. We go to the next slide.
All right.
All right, so we have another course, which we did in last year. This is a 12 session course, Moorish body politic formation and the principles of constitution and government course. This is a 12 session course, which is available on the Moroccan Post Media YouTube page, and as well as the Moorish Treaty Protection and Constellation class. So the Moorish Moroccan Post Media YouTube page.
How you doing, brother? Man, if I wake up, it's gonna be a great day. That's right. That's right.
Mute your phone, please. Mute yourself, please.
Yeah.
Next, go ahead, Shem, Terrence. All right, the Moorish Treaty Protection and Constellations. As you see, it's a 12-week course. So today we're dealing with Moorish Treaty Protection and Constellations, Writ of Quo Warranto, part 1, challenging the usurpation of the Moorish consular jurisdiction by the state's attorney generals and prosecutors of the member states of the Union States Society as vested in Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1787 and 1836 between the Moroccan Empire and the United States. All right. Reestablishing Moorish government to protect our people. Government handles the diplomatic and consular relations and enforce treaties to protect her nationals in a foreign jurisdiction. Writ of Quo Warranto. Challenging the usurpation of Moorish consular jurisdiction vested in Moorish sovereignty, delegated to Moorish consuls and protected in the Moorish treaties with Great Britain, United States, France, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, the Kingdom of the Netherlands and Dutch Republic, Denmark, Sardinia from 1500 1700s to 1800s. Yeah, that's better. Thank you. Short-term survival approach versus long-term survival approach. Can we have a reader?
I can.
Short-term survival approach versus long-term strategic planning approach. Short-term survival approach, no strategic planning, no goals and objectives, no facilitation of the recovery of lost Moorish sovereignty, Moorish statehood, re-entering the international community of nations under the revision of sovereignty as an old and original state, and reestablishment of diplomacy of the European kingdoms with which we negotiated treaties from the 1500s to the 1800s. No plan to command the enforcement of post liminium as to address Pope Alexander VI papal decree of Inter Caetera Divina of March 4th, 1493.
This is a typo on my part. It's reversion and not revision to sovereignty. It's a typo on my part. So it's reversion to sovereignty. That's a term in the law of the nation dealing under the recovery of law of sovereignty, of re-entering when a state loses her sovereignty through conquest, and that state is recovering her lost sovereignty and re-entering the international community. That state will be re-entering the international community as an old and original state under the reversion to sovereignty. Reversion to sovereignty. But continue, Amanda.
Question. What do the Moroccan Empire and dynasties military engagements? I'm sorry, it's just a little bit blurry.
Yeah, it's blurry. Yes.
A second, can you move it around, Terrence? No, I can't.
Yeah, I can't see it. T, you want to have to read it. Terrence.
Sorry, I was on mute.
You're gonna have to read it.
Okay, question. What do the Moroccan Empire and dynasties, military engagements, wars, admiralty, commercial trading, mercantile, maritime, merchant, and seafaring powers, as well as treaties, diplomatic and consular relations and strategies, captivity and ransoming strategies with European kingdoms between the 700s and the 1800s? Prove. Answer. One thing the Moorish power proves is that the names Morocco and Moor were predominant names that dominated the military engagements, wars, commercial trading, merchant, seafaring, diplomatic strategies, captivity and ransoming strategies of the European kingdoms between the 700s and the 1800s. The European kingdoms have stripped us, the native Moors of the land, of our right to discharge debt. In an unconscious, conquered, defeated, subjugated, and denationalized state, the native Moors of the land are increasing liability as debtors by using the Federal Reserve Note, promissory note, and by not enforcing their rightful obligations and Moorish treaties through Moorish government structure and functions. See the reference to the Mexican peso and the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between His Imperial Majesty, the Emperor of Morocco, and the United States in 1787. See also the 1848 Guadalupe Hidalgo Treaty between the United States of Mexico and the United States. Defining the end game. Hold on, I'm sorry. Defining the end game. Politically united, we will be able to enforce our Moorish treaties, reclaim our Moorish inheritance and bonds of consanguinity, reestablish our diplomatic and treaty ties with the European kingdoms, international relations, and intercourse with other nations of the world. Point 2, government structured approach of addressing the issue of offenses against Morocco and attack of Moorish sovereignty. Point 3, our people need to see a clear direction and path, bringing our Moroccan empire out of her 200-year period of temporary political extinction, collapse, disintegration, dismemberment, to the recovery of our lost Moorish sovereignty and the restoration of our Moorish statehood, re-entering the international community of nations under the reversion of sovereignty as an old and original state, and the reestablishment of diplomacy with the European treaty kingdoms. The plan of action to implement a nationwide educational structure, community outreach structure, and political structure. The facilitation of a national Moorish government, intergovernment alliance among Moorish bodies, let me start that one over. The facilitation of a national Moorish intergovernment alliance among Moorish bodies politic and Moorish Imperial Parliament Council. Agreement of national political unity among the Moorish body politic. Letter of political legitimacy. Executive order. Collateral estoppel. The case cannot be litigated when the issue has already been decided in previous case or cases. Memorandum of law and collateral estoppel. Res judicata.
All right, stop there. Hey, stop there. Shem, you want to elaborate on collateral estoppel and res judicata?
Res judicata is when a matter been already decided, meaning that it could be a court matter or it could be between two body governments, political body governments that agree on a treaty or international agreement, that this is how the differences will be settled politically through civil and criminal disputes. Once that's decided, that becomes a judgment against both sides, both nations, both states. And anytime one attempts to, any one side of the state attempt to pass legislation that try to take away that judgment in that treaty, that acts as a res judicata, I mean that judgment, that bill enacted or the act cannot stand as a law, a force against the hosting or receiving state, meaning that if a treaty is written up self-executed, there's nothing that no other government can do to override that treaty, to legislative act or whatever. The legislative act cannot annul that treaty. There had to be a certain agreement entered between both parties, and the party that was hosting party that granted the right to the other state to be there, the other state will have to relinquish all jurisdiction in that land, which means political exercise of political authority over its own citizens, not the Moors. If a Moor is somewhere in Russia, and the Moor was signing a treaty with Russia, and Russia allowed the Moors to set a political body, community, self-determined among themselves, set a constitution, and then they can regulate commerce. Any dispute happens between the Russian and the Moor, that the council handles the matter. Well, if the Moorish government passed legislative law, enact legislative acts and laws to nullify the treaty, that's a violation of the treaty. It's res judicata kicks in now. That means it can't be enforced in Russian land, because Russia is not a receiving state, they're a hosting nation. That's their land. Geographically, that's their land. They're not giving no amnesty or asylum to be there. They're allowing the receiving state to be there. So therefore, the receiving state don't have authority to issue that legislative act removing that protection from the treaty. This is very important. This is writs coming in. Writs are special letters of authority. Usually, anciently, writs were given to the emperor or the king, or the ambassador working under that king or emperor, or the president or the legislative body. And what happened is they would issue that writ because when one office of a government exercised an office that was not delegated to them in their constitution or through the treaty, they automatically res judicata kicks in. They prohibit from operating in that capacity as their corporate office, as an officer representing the foreign government. Neither in the capacity they're in, they was never granted that right under their own constitution, giving that right to operate as a foreign agent in the government, another government office capacity as that officer. So it's very important. Collateral estoppel, you cannot move at all against something already settled, well settled. What you mean? Anytime a treaty or international agreement was signed, let's say 50, 100 years ago, that's well settled principles of law. I mean, this is a policy. This is a private policy that entered into between two nations become public. But on the land, air, and water, there were land, air, and water. That's the law, land, air, and water, the policy between the two nations to operate between one another. One is a hosting, one's a receiving, meaning that you there not as a consanguinity, you there as a foreigner. You were given permission to cede land to operate your political jurisdiction and bring your subjects over to work for you. Therefore, you give exclusive jurisdiction over your subject, political power, to handle all disputes between your subjects, your citizens. But you never have subjects over the hosting nation power, the consanguinity of the land. The people of the land, the citizens of the land, you have absolutely no authority to regulate commerce for them, to enter judgment his disputes. You can't have civil criminal dispute. That's the agreement that entered into by the treaty. It's very important. So a writ is a type of letter or petition given out to the executive power of each government. Now, under the United States, that power will be handed over to the Supreme Court through the Constitution. Also, every government, the government legislature have the inherent power. So that writ can be issued to the essential power of that government, like with the Moorish Act. When the Moors, as a foreign national in a political jurisdiction of the United States, issue a petition, but that's considered a writ, that they cannot be detained, or the law does not apply to them as citizens of that state or the United States. So that's a very good example of the Moorish Act. Very important. You can always petition the House or the legislative power of that government, because that is the central authority of the government, the legislative power. So being that said, that res judicata, a collateral estoppel, you cannot enforce something that was already in power, that's already in power, giving authority to one party to do it. Res judicata means that something was already decided. When a legislative body, the head of state of that legislative body, signed with the other head of state of a government, a nation, once they decide, that's a decision made in a treaty agreement. When someone tried to relitigate that treaty, reopen that treaty, means try to revise it or modify it through a court proceeding or through some kind of administrative proceeding acts, that's called res judicata. It was already decided, self-executed inside the treaty. Hey, everybody understand this?
What? That would be a violation.
Yeah.
It'll be a violation if an attempt is made to relitigate or to modify.
Yes.
The res judicata protects against the modification.
Yes.
Yeah, protects against the modification. That's what you're saying.
The collateral estoppel stops them from acting any other capacity outside what the both powers agreed to in the treaty. See, the res judicata stands a bar, it's a fence, a gate, a lock. It's a device like you put a fence with a lock on it. You can't come in, you bar from coming in that way. You can't come in this exit. You got to come in, you can't come in this way. There's an exit down here through the treaty. I mean, you're trying to go around the treaty and execute an administrative process outside the treaty. You collaterally estoppel. You can't do it. You bar from doing that. Res judicata means you can't modify or revise that treaty without the lawful authority of both governments, meaning that you can't do that. It's self-executed. You can't revise it like and say you're a judge or a legislator. No, you can't revise that treaty. It was already decided. It's self-executed. You cannot revise it. You don't have the authority. There's nothing in the treaty allowing you to do that. The treaty speaks for itself. It's self-executed.
All right, good job, Shem. I just wanted you to, like, you did a great job really elaborating on that, because these are two important terms that has to become part of our lexicon, all right? And be able to understand, the application of the terms, great job with that.
Let me say, when you hear a court say, when you hear somebody argue, like I'm just speaking from experience. A brother got locked up on a DUI years ago. I filed the state. It was in the state of here in the Commonwealth. They were trying to lock him up on a DUI and try to implement a plan. I filed a response, and most of it dismissed based on res judicata, meaning the Supreme Court of the United States and Oregon versus the United States made a ruling on the determination of a DUI do a breathalyzer or a field test. They were trying to come, the prosecutor tried to come up with a new analogy. I said, you res judicata, it was already decided. You can't come up with a new analogy of this should have been done. No, you relitigate the case over again. You don't have that authority. So by challenging that, the case got dismissed. The prosecutor never had authority to revise that case. I mean, it was settled already. She was trying to litigate the fact that this is what the Commonwealth did, and they lawfully could do it, and justifying why they did it. And my argument was that you couldn't do that because it's all decided, a decision was made on that opinion, private policy by that court. The court handed out private policy governing that the school of thought, principle, merit, facts, all of that constitutional issue. Once they have it, that becomes a private policy, self-determined policy that governs all courts under that court. United States Supreme Court is the central court of the central government. So therefore, they pass rules of law, decisions as rules of court. The government, as legislative acts, as private policy, govern the lower courts or how to handle a civil or criminal matter dealing with the central authority, which is the Constitution, the amendments, the Constitution, Bill of Rights. So res judicata is when a decision is made in a matter and they try to relitigate it. When you try to relitigate that, mean that it was already decided. You're trying to open up that matter again. It's already decided. You can't open up no more. You can't litigate it. You stop. Matter of fact, you will stop for any litigation or do anything further. That was collateral stop mean. You have to stop right there. No more litigation. Stop. It was already decided. You're trying to move on something that's well settled and already self-determined already by legislative power or the court power. Res judicata mean that it was already decided. Collateral stop mean that it was already, it's enforcing the res judicata. What is enforcing the res judicata? I mean, you bar from relitigating that matter was already heard. So it's very important. They distinct, but they work together as brother and sister. One is a protector of the other. The res judicata, the collateral stopper protects the res judicata. I mean, it stops anyone from relitigating something they already decided by treaty, agreement, like for instance, two corporations into a memorandum of understanding or a partnership. Now, once that agreement is signed, once the party go to court and the attorneys start trying to pick apart the partnership agreement or the memorandum of understanding, The other attorney got a right to say, well, Your Honor, declared estoppel from modifying and revising the agreement before the court. I mean, there was already decided. The agreement was already decided by both board of directors and CEOs signed off on it. Therefore, it becomes res judicata. And therefore, you declared estoppel, but you cannot relitigate that matter that was already settled and litigated, period. So they both work together, one protects the other. You understand?
We have a question. We have a question.
Yes.
Somebody, that's Murray Bay. Did you raise your hand?
Islam, I kind of forgot the question, but it was pertaining to let's see. If any treaty that's done without the approval of the host nation, which is Morocco, is a de facto treaty, correct? If it's done in the Americas and is not authorized by Morocco, because every treaty that's done in the Americas need to be authorized by Morocco. And if it hasn't been authorized by Morocco, it's a de facto treaty. Could that be right? Because it was.
Let me say this.
Let me answer that, Shem. Shem,
Yes.
let me answer that. Let me answer that, please. All right. For 200 years, due to conquest, the Moroccan Empire, right, currently is in a state of political collapse and extinction. The Moroccan Empire is in a coma, in a political coma. Moroccan Empire has been in political coma for 200 years. In international law, that is called a dismemberment, a collapse, or disintegration of a state. Moroccan Empire is asleep right now. We have to go into the hospital. I'm just breaking it down so everyone can understand. The Moroccan, we got to go into the hospital and revive our mother out of the 200-year period of political extinction, collapse. There are occupying nations that have extended their territorial sovereignty on Moorish soil for past 300-400 years. Spain, France, Portugal, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the Dutch Republic, Sweden, Germany have extended their occupational territorial sovereignty. All right. Our mother is asleep. This is the process of recovering. All right. So in international law, bringing in a nation that has been due to conquest, brought to her knees due to her conquest, out of that extinction, collapse, or dismemberment. In international law, that term is the recovery of lost sovereignty. So while our mother is asleep, Europeans are playing it. Spain, Portugal, France, the Netherlands, Sweden. They have surveyed portions of our land. They had actual surveys. So when you see these European occupational survey maps that you were taught in the schools, those are European occupational survey maps. You say 1500s to 16 from 16 something to 1763. You see France, New France. All right. France lost territorial sovereignty to Great Britain. France ceded large portion of our land to Great Britain in 1763 under the Treaty of Paris, or the peace treaty between France and Great Britain. So then you see 1763, 1764, you see Great Britain. You see in the maps. So because that came about through war and secessions. France ceded Canada. France, Great Britain made an agreement with Spain to have France cede Louisiana to Spain under the Treaty of Fontainebleau of 1762. This is important. I'm answering the question. You got to understand this is a reality. This is a political reality we have to address. This is what's going on. We've been asleep. This is the part, these classes are part of reawakening us. There has not been a national Moorish government structure in operation since our collapse. There has not been a national Moorish, but hear me out. I know there are groups of Moors, 5 or 10, who claim to have recovered lost Moorish sovereignty. That's BS. 10 people out of 40 million claim to have recovered lost Moorish sovereignty. 10, 20 people out of 40 million making the claim that they have established a Moorish national federal republic government. A Moorish national federal republic government. 10 people. We're Borgville. We're Stephen Fletcher. We're Laurel and Hardy. We're the Three Stooges. We're Hardy and Costello. A joke. Showing the world that we are not qualified. You got Moorish bodies of 5 or 10 or 20 claim that they have a state. There's a book called The Creation of State. The Creation of State. I'm not done yet. I'm answering the question. Of, he's mentioned Morocco. Morocco is in the hospital. Morocco can't speak because Morocco is in the hospital. So I'm answering why these treaties are being negotiated on Moorish land, because Morocco is in the hospital. Morocco is in a coma. It's a political collapse. We are bringing her out of that. She's not out of that. We have to stop talking as if she's out of that. We are in the process of recovering the lost Moorish sovereignty. We can't talk as if we have recovered it. And I am not going to have somebody in my presence talk as if that has been done. We've been defeated. All right, get over it. They kicked our ass. Get over it. All right, let's put it back together. That's what we're doing. But don't talk as if we've done it already. Because what happens is 29 years of observation. Y'all, please hear me, please. 29 years. I've heard Moors talk all this crap, and they get other Moors, conscious Moors, hyped up as if they have recovered. Let's be real. There's nothing wrong with being upfront with the people. that we're working our way out through this. There's nothing wrong with that. We've been defeated. We've been conquered. But don't talk as if we've recovered the lost Moorish sovereignty and as we restore Moorish statehood. There are Moors, conscious Moors out there talking as though they recovered lost Moorish sovereignty and restored Moorish statehood when millions of people still are asleep. Please, I am not the most intelligent man in the world. Please. How is that possible? How is it possible that 10 Moors, millions of our people are still asleep? How is it possible that Moorish statehood has been restored? How is that possible? That is not political legitimacy. The sovereignty belongs to those who are awakened and as well as those who are sleeping. These conscious Moors are trying to gain some political authority without the consent of the people. You cannot restore a permanent Moorish government without waking our people up. It cannot happen. It can only be a provisional government. Yes, within a year or two, we can establish, it wouldn't be reestablished. I'm not using the word, not in this case. Not in this case. This is the only case in which I'm not using re. Establish a provisional government, which means temporary. You cannot, 1,000, 4,000 or 5,000 cannot establish a permanent government when millions of people still sleep. It would be a provisional government, temporary. And we set in the guidelines what we would do in a year or two, and as a provisional government, means large community outreach, education, addressing mass sterilization. That can be done as a provisional government, but not as a permanent government. You have to have a plebiscite with millions of our people already awakened. We must understand political science. I will continue to teach. Shem will continue to teach. Terrence will continue to teach. We will continue to teach. These principles got to be sound with us. We will not be respected by talking this permanent government crap when millions of our people still are asleep. Our people will hurt you. And I will be behind them, supporting them to hurt you. I will support our people to hurt you. I will lead the way for our people to hurt you. Because you are what you're doing, trying to steal their birthright, trying to claim authority over them without their consent. With no checks and balances, and they have no voice. Nah, you were asleep. I got the seat. Come on, man, let's be real. All right. So let's move on. I've answered it.
The question was are those treaties de facto?
Let me do it again. Let me say it again. I said to you, I said to the audience that the Moroccan Empire is asleep. It's done the occupiers are ruling our land. The occupiers. So when the Moroccan Empire has abandoned. So this question of de facto, not de facto, Morocco is asleep. She's asleep. That's what I'm getting at. That's Murray Bay, she's asleep. If the Moroccan Empire was awakened, politically active, she's not. Her people are classified as Negro, colored, Black, Latino, Spanish, Puerto Rican. They have no self-authority. Conscious Moors are not organized politically. We've abandoned our claim. You're talking, your question is in the context as if we had not abandoned our claim. We've abandoned our claim. So this de facto, not de facto, we've abandoned our claim. Once we reorganize, recover our lost Moorish sovereignty, then we can address, because you're talking about European colonization of our land. Spain and France negotiated treaties on our land. This is occupational. It's not, they're not sovereigns of the land. It's not legitimate based on the sovereigns of the land. It's based on occupation, based on rulership and conquest. They're doing it in the name of conquest. You gotta use that. You have to use that term. It's this, all right. The New World. Let me continue. This is for everybody. So I trust you get it, us Mary Bay. The New World is just a code. When they say the New World, just a code for intercatera divina. Of course, it's not a new world. It's the enforcement of the doctrine of discovery, intercatera divina. It's conquest. They're doing it in the name of conquest. We have to reorganize. It's not legitimate based on that because they're not the sovereign of the land, but it's done under conquest.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot talk as if Morocco has been recovered. We cannot talk like that. We cannot talk like that. We cannot talk as if we have recovered our lost sovereignty. We cannot talk like that. As Murray Bay, you're talking as if we recovered our lost Moorish sovereignty. We got to be real. We got to be real with the people. We have not recovered our lost Moorish sovereignty. We have not. I know there's Moors, body power, Moors, quote unquote, Moors, whatever, groups of 10 or 20. They claim to have a state. They don't have a state. In fact, let me say this. I'm not going to say the name. I'm not going to say the name. I was talking to someone who's part of a Moorish body politic. This conscious Moor claimed to have restored Moorish statehood. The person, because I'm not going to say whether it's a he or she. I'm not going to say whether he or she. So I'm going to say the natural person or the conscious Moor. I'll just say the conscious Moor. So I won't even let you know whether it's a male or female. The conscious Moor said that he or she, I'm not going to let you know whether it's a female or female, he or she recovered, has a Moorish state. I know, once again, the creation of the state by James Crawford, and also the Montevideo Convention, the Acts and Duties of the State, 1933 Montevideo Convention, Acts and Duties of the State. So I said to this conscious Moor, and also the conscious Moor said, I said, ask the conscious Moor that the state re-entered the international community as an old original state and signed on. I'm going to sign on to the acts conventions, i.e., the Berne Convention and other these international acts and conventions. So that conscious boy said that we're the sovereigns of the land. We don't need to sign on to the international acts and convention. I said, all right, no problem. So I said, well, mail me something. Where would you go to mail me something? Mail me something or mail something to China. Where would you go to mail something to China, France, England, Germany, or mail me something? Where are you gonna go? Oh, you'll go to United States Post Office. Guess what, y'all? Don't tell anybody. United States signed on to the Universal Postal Union. So you're gonna use the United States Post Office, but you said we don't need to sign on to any acts conventions. But you're going to use the United States Post Office. Oh, are you on this phone talking to me? Oh, you got a website. You got a domain name? Oh, you got a domain name. United States signed on to what? Star Wars. United States signed on to Star Wars, the Berne Convention. So you got a domain name due to the United States signing on to the Berne Convention. But you said you don't need to sign on to this act convention. We're a joke. Play talk to somebody who don't know something. Can't talk to me like that. And the problem is, my brothers and sisters, we're going to teach y'all. We're going to teach y'all so y'all can be able to challenge things like that. What the issue is, conscious Moors are used to saying anything because they know that these conscious Moors have not been taught. We're teaching y'all. All right. I know I went a little longer, but I needed to. I needed to. All right. I'm just tired, y'all. I'm just tired of 29 years of seeing our people being conscious Moors abusing Moors. I'm just tired of it, man. I'm just tired of it. Tired of it. This conscious Moors just saying anything, trying to get your lunch money. Anything.
Islam. It was something that disturbed me this week. I seen Brother Lamont Moraes.
S. Murray Bay, we're gonna move
okay.
on. S. Murray Bay,
All right.
we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. All right, because you asked a question, we addressed it. Any other questions? We're gonna move on.
Is this clear enough for everyone to read? For anyone to read?
No.
Going in and out.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's see.
Yeah, it keeps and it did that while you were reading, T.
So hold on. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. All right, so I'll just read it. I have something on the stove here. All right, so collateral estoppel. The case cannot be litigated when the issue has already been decided in previous cases or case. Memorandum of law and collateral estoppel, res judicata. No, we went through that. Moors must stand on the principles of the Moorish treaties. The state's attorney general have to prove that they are authorized by treaty based on the plain language in the treaty. The only thing the state's attorney general can consider in a Quo Warranto matter is the treaty. When Moorish consuls file a writ of Quo Warranto and letter of rogatory on behalf of Moors, anything that the state's attorney generals did prior to the filing of the writ of Quo Warranto would be void. The authority rendering the decision never had the authority in the first place based on the treaty. Terms of treaty enforcement, diplomatic relations, and consular relation. Introduction. On the role of treaties in the development of international law, Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties by Oliver, Dorr, LL, and Kristen, that name, okay? I'm not sure what that name is.
Right, T.
January 1st, 2011.
Mhm.
Treaties form the basis of most parts of modern international law. They serve to satisfy a fundamental need in states to regulate by consent issues of common concern, and thus to bring stability to their mutual relations. As an instrument for ensuring stability, reliability, and order in international relations, treaties are one of the most important elements of international peace and security. This is why, from the early days in the history of international law, treaties have always been the primary source of legal relations between entities today known as states. The preamble of the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties itself emphasizes the fundamental role of treaties in the history of international relations, and especially the importance of treaties for developing peaceful cooperation among nations. This fundamental importance of treaties proved to be a continuum while the rules and procedures of treaty making, as well as the contents of international agreements, changed through the centuries. Major topics of the Moorish treaties, major topics of the Moorish treaty protection and consular relation course. Point 1, consular notification and access. 2, central authority, diplomatic channels, jurisdiction competency, personality of law, capitulatory / extraterritorial consular jurisdiction, consular relations, diplomatic relations, consulate, and consular court. CFR 22 CFR section 2.3, notification of foreign officials, current through July 31st, 2022. Diplomatic and consular immunity, guidance for law enforcement and judicial authorities. United States Department of State Office, Foreign Missions. United States Department of State, consular notification and access. Instructions for federal, state, and law enforcement and other officials regarding foreign nationals in the United States and the rights of consular officials to assist them. Federal Register, the Daily Journal of the United States Government, consular notification for aliens detained prior to an order of removal, a rule by the Homeland Security Department on January 17th, 2007.
This is a review. What he's reading now, what Terrence is reading now, is we've gone over already. We're not going to do this. We're not doing this today. This is just, I should have said that before Terrence started reading this section, that this is just an outline of what we've already covered. What we've already covered, I think over the past maybe 4, 5, 6 classes, we've already covered these points. So you can go back to the recorded classes. These points have already been covered. And I put these in there just as before we get into the heart of the Writ of Quo Warranto discussion, I wanted to do this list some of the points, major points that we've covered, all right, in the previous classes, all right? I just want to set, go ahead, T.
All right. The United States legislation to enforce treaties. United States Senate Committee on Foreign Relations is a standing committee of the United States Senate charged with leading foreign policy, legislation, and debate in the Senate. United States Senate Committee on Foreign Relations to the United Nations, January 20 to the 21st, 2000. Address before the UN Security Council by Senator Jesse Helms, Chairman, field hearing, implementation of UN reforms. Review of United States participation in the United Nations. Hearing before a subcommittee of the Committee on Foreign Relations, United States Senate. 88th Congress, first session, March 13th, 1963. The 13th report, U.S. Advisory Commission on International Educational and Cultural Affairs, June 30th, 1977. Some international law terms: treaty, convention, act, Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, diplomacy, diplomatic relations, diplomatic channels, ambassador, minister of foreign affairs / secretary of state, Vienna Convention of Consular Relations, consular relations, consulate, consular court, consul general, consul, vice consul, consul commission, letter of exequatur, am I saying that correctly, Abdullah? Sorry, I'm missing someone. Extraterritoriality, capitulatory, extraterritoriality, extraterritorial consular jurisdiction, consular notification, central authority, letter of rogatory. Writ of Quo Warranto, protecting Moroccan / Moorish sovereignty in a foreign jurisdiction, treaty law, extraterritoriality jurisdiction, and consular relations, challenging the usurpation of the Moorish consular jurisdictional authority, Part 1. What is nationalization for the Moors? The political process done under the authority of a Moorish government to bring the denationalized, subjugated, conquered, and defeated Moors back under the protection of Moorish sovereignty, Moorish flag, and Moorish treaties. 1. Pledge of allegiance to your Moorish government. 2. Change in lawful status from civil death to in full life. 3. Change of jurisdiction from the foreign United States de facto corporate, I'm going to add this, de facto, or, oh, wait a minute, where am I? I'm sorry. Change of jurisdiction from the foreign United States de jure or de facto corporate government to your Moorish government. 4, agreement to come under the authority and protection of your Moorish government. 5, come under the protection of the Moorish treaties. 6, be represented by a Moorish government official, Grand Wazirs, Prime Minister, Wazirs, Viziers, Beys, Days, Sheikhs, Deputy Consuls, and Consul Generals. The consul of the appointed sheikh or sheikhs is the official officers of either our own Moorish Moroccan religious codes, ordinance, which we use in our mosques, synagogues, and congregations, which are our constitutional authority. And we, the Moors, shall use her power to defend our Moorish nationality and birthright through our government structure on the foundation of the nations within the Moroccan Empire and in unity with the remedy by Writ of Quo Warranto. Moors in government structure and function. 1, based on the article language written in the treaty. 2, if the treaty stipulates that a consul is the authorized agent to litigate the disputes. 3, who are the high contracting parties in the treaties? 4, only the high contracting parties that the treaty by law are the only parties that may make a judicial decision on the dispute. Shem here. Consular jurisdiction. 1, when the treaty stipulates that a consul from each nation/jurisdiction is the only judicial officer that can make an adjudicated decision based on the civil or criminal dispute between the two citizens of different nations. 2, when a consul, public minister, of each nation is being hindered and prevented from enforcing the treaty by the state of origin, he or she has the right to file any writ that shall assist him or her in enforcing the treaty in either jurisdiction of the high contracting parties in unity with the de jure Constitution of the de jure United States of North America. Hold on.
Use your computer
3,
or phone.
I did that already. The de jure United States Constitution, the treaty, contract / alliance among the states, delegated authority to its Supreme Court to hear treaty claims without filing any pleading in the lower district court of federal appeal court.
Shem.
I think his phone went back out. I just moved him back in, but
I'm back. I'm back.
You were gone. So continue reading.
Okay.
I wanted him to comment, but he was gone.
They didn't hear it.
All right.
Where are we?
No,
Shem.
yes.
Give us a discussion on consular jurisdiction.
The council jurisdiction with the council is the judicial officer in international affairs dealing with their own national. I mean, they have right to rule and make opinion decisions dealing with their own nationals. Now, that is something executed through the treaty, which is agreement. It's res judicata because the states, any states that sign, any country that signed a treaty is bound by that treaty, and it's collateral estoppel. Mean it cannot be good. No, there's no other way to go in dealing with that foreign national. Now, when a matter is brought before attorney general or an officer of the other state nation, they try to assert the power of the council or the judge taking certain jurisdiction in the matter. That's a violation of the treaty. Therefore, the council has to file a writ of Quo Warranto. I mean, the party has the right to file a writ of Quo Warranto to the council of the Mukti, was given authority upon the 1856 treaty between Morocco and Great Britain, and the Day Treaty that the Moorish government has exclusive jurisdiction over all civil and criminal matters, even pursuant to the Treaty of Granada. Now, once that writ is filed, it's served upon the legislative branch of the government, which is the Senate. The Attorney General represents the governor, the Senate, and all the executive orders, all the county. Attorney General is the parent of the state. He's the high representative officer of the state. Once it's served with him to show cause by what authority he had based on the treaty to litigate the matter, that any agency or court or government body have power to rule in that matter that was given to exclusive to the council. Once they don't answer the writ, he issued a writ. Once the writ,
We can't hear you. Hold on, Shem. Shem,
Oh, he on mute. Is he on mute?
you're on mute.
He's muted.
You're muted. You're muted. Shem, you're muted.
Hold on.
he stepped on the writ of Quo Warranto, and under federal rules of evidence, to enforce that treaty and that council jurisdiction, the only evidence for the court is the council seal. The only thing the court can consider, the federal court, to enforce that writ. Now the writ is being enforced by that foreign government based on a res judicata contract. That means they want to bar with an injunction the states will operate as if they're the council to hear that foreign matter. Any questions? Any questions?
Islam. It's a portion of your conversation that you was having. You was muted. So could you go over about 5 minutes of your conversation? I yield the floor.
Yeah, you were muted. Just to review it, because you were muted for about 30 seconds. You were muted at the point of review the process.
When a national,
Yes, go ahead.
First of all, when a national has been detained, stopped, or going to what you call a difficulty, a dispute with a foreign agency, a foreign officer, or a civilian, a citizen of that state, the Moorish national have a right to request the assistance of his counsel. Now, what is a counsel in the treaty? He's an international judicial officer to hear all foreign matters. He represents the national, not before that state that's arresting him or detaining him, but he hears the matter himself based on the principle of the law, his law. The national protected under international law based on the decision that the council makes. So what the council does is comes in and does what you call a notice of appearance on the council's jurisdiction, and he files what you call a letter of rogatory with the federal courts and say, hey, listen, this is a letter of rogatory on an international matter based on CFR. This case has to be heard by the central authority through the State Department and the council. On the council's notification to the central authority, the council has exclusive jurisdiction. And based on the treaty, now what happens is that petition goes before the magistrate judge that rules give out what you call case numbers, the international matters of the State Department. They would give a number out. I had it done. Our brother had a more state. He already indicated this and it works. No problem. That's called principle. Norm. That's the norm. That's the norms of the matter. I'm talking about norms now. Once they issue that number, the council issues, you call it now, upon the state, a writ of Quo Warranto to appear to show cause that any judge of that state or he himself or any agency of the state has a right to adjudicate or judge to hear the matter and adjudicate any judgment against that national based on the treaty. And what happens is, once that writ is issued, the attorney general will ask you, the court issue the writ with a decree and grant the writ that they don't have jurisdiction. In order to enforce the injunction, he goes to the Supreme Court with a writ of assistance based on the Constitution. He said, well, you gotta pledge that the treaties are the law of the land. So therefore, this treaty is being enforced through this Quo Warranto. The Supreme Court issue a writ and issue an estoppel, which is called an injunction against the state to operate as if they're the council over the foreign matter of that national. You got it, DuPont?
Not just DuPont. DuPont you were on mute. DuPont was the one to bring it to your attention that you were on mute. To rehash what you said.
Right. Everybody got understanding. Concept.
Yes, good.
I got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, let me say this. Now, you see why we took our time and dealt with one element at a time. You know, consular notification, central authority, you know, the United States Senate, treaty enforcement principles. This is how we, over the past 9 to 10 classes, that we dealt with slow element at a time. And then you see that y'all hear as Shem was talking, that he brought up consular notification. He brought up central authority.
Yep.
You see how he brought those principles up in his discussion that we had already gone over. So now we're looking at, you know, application, all right, of those principles. This is why we've taken our time. Can't be done in one class, 2 classes, 3 classes. We wanted to take our time, review after review, take our time. Just want y'all to, you know, I recognize what's going on here.
This is why when the Hague brought down the decision against the United States, against crimes against humanity of their own citizens and black, colored, Indians, the reason why they intervened and sanctioned the United States because they look at Indians, black, Negroes, and color as being what? Domestic citizens of the United States. So according to their charter, they will not intervene in any domestic affairs of a country and their own citizens. This is why we have to come together and form one national government, because let me explain something to you. If you go up there as one state government, right, representing your own community, it could be 10, you're not helping all the Moors in a day. When you come together as one national government, you're helping all the Moors, because you know why? Every Moor get conscious now and get educated, have a right to form their Moor state, and they can join our confederacy anytime and become a party to our confederacy, national government, and be protected. That's why it's very important that we do it the right way.
Islam.
Any more questions? Any more questions on this topic?
I get excited, man, brother. Shem, I appreciate you, brother. Oh my God.
Well, Abdullah, you've been with us, Abdullah. I knew this back in 2012. Why did I move? Because My thing was, I was dealing with a man that was very sincere, but at the same time, he had some personal problems, and I understand. But I can say one thing: the man was sincere, and he's somebody I'd love to have my team. But he's very aggressive, but he's sincere. And every day I was teaching him, he'd put it in an indicator. But one thing he had to understand: I knew that even though I was doing it to protect my house and the people in my surrounding boundaries, how could I help everybody else in the Moorish Empire that live in the political subdivision, political jurisdictional vineyards? How can I help them? The only way to help them is create one national constitution and sign a treaty among ourselves, a treaty of liberty, independence, and claim our own independence to one national vehicle, and take that vehicle, register the UN as the self-determined vehicle upon all more states. And what happened is, by being self-determined, that's a right among any people, right to self-determine. Now, once that happens, now when we bring a claim to the Hague, they can intervene now because we are considered as a people that self-determined among ourselves. This is our land, and we try to bring ourselves under colonialism. So therefore, anybody operating under colonialism is barred. They don't stop. Why? Based on the UN Charter, based on the Constitution, based on the Conventions and Declarations, these nations are barred. It was already decided by all the World Congress. All the nations of the world decided that no nation should move upon a self-determined body of people, period. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm putting a real definition of res judicata. It's been decided by all nations of the world that come together as a member, an international universal Congress. They enacted conventions, declarations, resolutions, and guess what? That's res judicata against any state or Commonwealth corporation operating in your land as a country, have exercised their political jurisdiction over their own citizens, or let me say, fiction creatures of the law, or their own creatures of the law. So therefore, this is a very principle of res judicata. When you're able to have a national government, you go to the Hague and say, hey, listen, it's already decided that no nation in the International Bill of Rights, no nation intervene in any other nation right to self-determine among itself. So that's res judicata. And not only res judicata, it's collateral stop, a border for what intervening in your political affairs. Deal with your nationals, your citizens, period. Any questions? Any more questions? I'm trying to open up best elementary and the norm. I'm talking about real norms. I'm not trying to come with no off the wall concepts. I'm coming with norms and facts. Any questions?
Nah, no questions.
Islam.
No,
I had a
you make it
question.
very easy to understand, Shem.
Yes.
Say it again, Amanda.
I said he makes it very easy to understand. He just puts it in simple words.
He does.
Any more questions?
Islam. It's pertaining to consular jurisdiction. I seen brother Maurice Lamont L get arrested, and he was yelling consular jurisdiction. He's a foreign national, and they still arrested him. Then I seen another video where he was talking from jail, saying that the judge told him there's no one that's going to come rescue. There's no consulate that's going to come rescue. Even though he was using consular jurisdiction, saying he was a foreign national, they violated his rights. I mean, by not giving him that opportunity to connect with a treaty.
Let me respond.
Go ahead.
Let me respond.
To me, that's my thought. Peace.
All right, all right. Let me say this, S. Murray Bay, and this is for all this. This is for everybody. One thing you do, all right, and Terrence knows where I'm going with this. Terrence already knows where I'm going. Terrence knows. Mm-hmm. You never want to say that's my thought. You never want to say this is a teachable moment now. Thank you, S. Murray Bay, for allowing me to do a teachable moment. This is for everyone. You never want to say, that's my thought. You want to come from a principle. You want to say, according to the Vienna conventional constellations, according to central authority, according to, never, that's my thought. I examined the Vienna Convention of Consular Relations, Article 11. Example. Central authority. This is for all of y'all. We don't want to say that's my thought. We're going to throw that in the trash. We're going to throw that's my thought in the trash. This school is teaching you critical thinking, analysis, and reasoning, and how to support your argument and claim. Refer to a principle. Never, that's my thought. Never, that's my thought. All right, so let me continue. So I said that, I'm say this. We gave two classes on central authority. Central authority. That, let me explain. The Vienna Convention of Consular Relations, not my thought, not Abdullah Bey's thought. According to the Vienna Convention of Consular Relations, I forget what article, it's called a letter of equator. It's EQUATUR. The head of state of a government gives commission papers. So let's say I'm the head of state. Terrence is I have appointed Terrence as a Moorish consul to operate in an area on our land, Philadelphia, in the United States jurisdiction. That his commission reads that. His commission will read the area. I send that to the central authority of the United States. I don't get, Terrence doesn't send anything. I send it. The receiving state, the United States, all right? I'm sending, Terrence will be deployed to the United States jurisdiction. I send a copy of his commission papers announcing who Terrence is, the area in which, right?
Mm-hmm.
The central authority of the United States, according to, not my thought, the Vienna Convention of Consular Relations will send a letter of equator to the governor or the mayor of where Terrence will be operating, announcing who Terrence is. That's called diplomacy. That's done through diplomatic channels. What Lamont did, because he said it, that he filed papers with the county. He sent his papers, commission papers, to the county. That's not how it's done. The head of state sends it to the central authority of the United States. The central authority of the United States sends a letter of equator announcing who Terrence is. Hear me out, please. Please hear me out. It's verified. They can call the central authority Terrence such and such, Terrence Bay. Oh yeah, they'll call. It's done through, we have to learn this, my brothers and sisters. We must learn this. We must learn this. You don't learn this through trial and error. I said this again. You do not learn, no one in the world, no president, no prime minister, no consul general, vice consul, minister plenipotentiary, ambassador in the world learns international law, consular relations, government principles through trial and error. No one learns it through trial and error. They are taught. They study political philosophy, political science, public relations, international law, and public administration. They go to school for international law. They study. They don't learn through trial and error. They study they study what we've been giving y'all for the past 10 classes and more. They've studied. It's not done through trial and error. You don't learn what I just said. I didn't learn this. No, I've studied. It's not my thoughts. None of this is my thoughts. None of this is my thoughts. None of it. I'm giving you references. This is why we give you references. We have you read. We go to get the manuals and put the section of the manuals in. So it's not our thoughts.
Wow, okay, right. Let me tell you something. Elaborate. See, this way, I'm gonna tell you who got injured for what happened to him. See, all these unconscious Moors that be trying to reach, it's all around. When they see him get locked up, oh man, that stuff ain't real. Look, they locked up accounts. They want them, man. That stuff. See, you gotta be careful what you do de facto, because you hurt innocent Moors. They never come over. They don't think they get nowhere they can be protected. Watch that claim being more. They're locking up by counsel, our government figures. No, they're not. No, they don't know. They're not government figures. Now watch this. They would never lock Lamont up because under international law, he got diplomatic immunity exemption. You can't lock up a counsel under international law. But guess what? All the times he had to react with the government, somebody had counsel with a weapon, they went back and studied and said, is there any proclamation? Is there any proclamation or those from the government of the Kingdom of Morocco or any Moorish government and their dominions, the issue, what his name was as a counsel? No. So now they got to say, if he come back, lock him up as impersonating an international diplomatic officer. And they locked him up. And guess what? That's why the judge said, ain't nobody come and get you. You know why he said that? We check behind you. You're not part of the Moorish government. That's the government. We check behind you already. We know nobody coming to get you. Probably call the Kingdom of Morocco. We don't know him. We ain't commission him. Where he come from? Probably call all the Moors, Islamic States. We don't know him. So what are you gonna do? But see what I'm saying? When you do the de facto, you hurt innocent Moors that don't know. They're afraid. You make it more you make it more frightful than they live under conditions of the European system. By the only locked him up. Look what they did to Shem and them all over the council court. They locked them up. They plead guilty. Why? They're not doing it on the international diplomacy the right way, proper way. They not self-determined in the proper way. What you mean? They're not. When you see somebody go ahead and do everything right, they dealing with jurists, not attorney jurists. Abdullah, they're special educated, trained on the international principles and norms, period. They don't try to try error. They train and educated. They read all the way, the balanced way to establish the government, and they do it. That's what we've been teaching everybody here. Any questions?
Islam.
Yeah, we do have
That's
Sheehan.
making me open things up tonight, boy. I love it, brother. I love
yeah,
the
we have
challenge.
Sheehan has his hand up for a while, so
yes, yeah, absolutely. Yes, go ahead, Sheehan.
All right, peace, Islam. I had a question. It's in reference to, okay, if the United States is a child of Great Britain, then in that capacity, or if a child's at my house, and then the parents responsible for the child's actions. So would that be in the International Court of Justice, seeing as how the United States doesn't have title to, they don't have a title to land, they have a right to have their own, to govern their own political affairs. So when it comes to human rights violations, who's responsible for the crimes against humanity, what pertaining to the Moors of Morocco. And I don't know if I want to say in our current state or even our future state, who is responsible for that? Who's responsible for those crimes when on the international stage pertaining to the United States, seeing as how they're not an occupying sovereign?
All right, let me address that. Let me address that.
Yes.
Until there is a provisional Moorish government and not a reestablishment. We talk about a temporary Moorish government. That means it's a provisional to address the systematic generational mass denationalization. Black is not a people. You can't injure Black, can't hurt Black, can't arrest Black, can't put Black in jail. So until a provisional Moorish government stands up to address that our people are Moors and not Black, as long as they saying Black, there's no such people. That has to first be addressed. So to address crime against humanity, the first issue has to be that these people are Moors and not Black. That has to be done first. Before we start saying that has to be done first. That has to be done first. That has to be fun to address, because it can't be where you're saying crime against humanity against Black people, which you're not saying that. You're not saying that. You're not saying that. So you're not saying that. But it has to be, we have to address first who the people are. Then once that is addressed, well, that these people have been classified as Black. But only a Moorish government is going to do that. China ain't going to do it. France ain't going to do it. England, Germany, Nigeria, they're not going to do it. All right, so let me address the issue of the United States being a child of Great Britain. The Treaty of Paris, 1783, the definitive peace treaty between the United States and Great Britain. Article 1 of the treaty. Great Britain acknowledges the United States, viz., namely, North Carolina, South Carolina, Rhode Island, Virginia, Maryland, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, named all 13. Because why? Because that's how it's structured in the Articles of Confederation. That Article 1 is the same structure that's in the Articles of Confederation. A league of independent, sovereign, free states. That language it's in the Articles of Confederation is the same language that's in the, so that we know that the subjects are not sovereign. The British subjects do not have any inherent sovereignty. They're subjects. So now where does sovereignty come from? Like they're subjects. Now where does sovereignty come from? Great Britain acknowledged, just acknowledging. So the charters, North Carolina Charter, South Carolina Charter, New York Charter, Pennsylvania, the land boundaries. So the state of, or Pennsylvania, North Carolina state, all right, through that treaty, the United States allowed to operate within the boundaries, because the boundaries that were relinquished, not ceded, relinquished. The word cede appears about what time? How many times? About 10 times in the 1763 treaty of Paris,
Yeah.
treaty between Great Britain and France. The word seed. The word seed does not appear once, not at all, in the treaty between Great Britain and United States.
Absolutely.
It does not appear. Relinquish. Now keep in mind, all right, because since change, and I have to open it up. In the treaty between the peace treaty between France and Great Britain, you got two sovereigns. Their sovereignties inherited. A king of France and a king of Great Britain. King of France, king of Great Britain are negotiating. Negotiating. But in the 17 with United States and Great Britain, you got a king and her subjects. Our king is negotiating with her subjects. A king, Great Britain was not France. Great Britain was not negotiating with her subjects in that 1763 treaty of France. Our king, King George III, through Hutley. Hutley was the one that represented the crown, all right, in that treaty. So he, on behalf of the crown, all right, Hutley, they negotiating with
All right,
the
Daddy.
subject.
I'll see you later.
So the state of South Carolina is operating in the boundaries of the Charter of South Carolina. Now the claim is that the sovereignty of South Carolina is vested in the people. Like the sovereignty is vested in the people of South Carolina. But in truth, it's not. So that treaty says Great Britain just relinquished, the Moorish territory over to her subject to operate, and as a political jurisdiction. So that the treaty is the law between Great Britain and the United States. So we got to keep that in mind. There is a treaty. There is a treaty between Great Britain and the United States. But keep in mind that the reason why Spain, Great Britain, France, and the United States created legal fictions or fictions in law, Spanish, Black, Negro, colored, so that they could take it out of the law. So there's a need for, we have to recover our law sovereignty. We must establish a provisional government. That's the only time I would use established, because a step to permanent government will be provisional government. To establish a permanent government, you need millions of our people. Now, somebody explained to me, based on the principles in political science, political philosophy, the principles of self-government, principles of political legitimacy, that we don't need now. That we don't need millions of our people to recover our lost Moorish sovereignty and statehood. Because it's the populations, it's the numbers. You need the consent of the people. The people includes unconscious Moors. I mean, they're Moors, they're not Black, Negro, colored, they're Moors. They're Moors. Now we need to get our behind out. We need to get our behinds off our seats. Move away from the computer sometimes and do some boots on the ground. I say sometimes, because social media is good too. But the problem is with conscious Moors. we're only limited to social media. The problem with conscious Moors is conscious Moors are only relegated to dealing with social media and never no boots on the ground. That's the problem I have with conscious Moors.
Professor Abdullah, I'm glad we're going into this deep so we can go ahead and straighten the history part up. See, we have to understand when the Constitution, when negotiations are going on with the United States, said we the people, that's the Lord proprietors. They're the ones, yeah, the Esquires who wrote the Constitution was representatives and subjects of the crowns. Remember that. They wrote the Constitution. We the people are the Lord proprietors and the Constitution. Now, let me explain. So we go into this supremacy clause and the contract clause in the Constitution. Nobody should put an obligation of contract. When the Lord proprietors instructed the Esquires, all of you that boast about Thomas Jefferson, James Adams, they were Esquires. They were part of British ranks. They were Esquires. So they were still subjects. They were part of that society, we the people. When they wrote the Constitution, they wrote that all the letters, addendums, all the treaties got to be honored. Why? Because they write on behalf to protect the interests of the crown and all the crown as a central authority affairs. And it gave that power to one central government to act on behalf of the crown in the colony territories, which is called the United States, which is now the District of Columbia. They won't teach this. This has to be taught. And the thing about it is that we cannot allow ourselves to think that we resurrect the government and we operate for helping we the Moors government, but we can't in fact protect all the Moors. That's what it comes down to. Being able to, okay, we know we got some Moors, there are millions of Moors out here that's unconscious. Okay, what are you gonna do to help them? Besides, ain't nothing wrong with helping yourself. We'll say, what kind of plan you doing to strategically planning?
They ain't got one. They ain't got one. They don't have one. They don't have one. They don't have one.
Like Noah Ark. We need everybody to go aboard the Ark to save ourselves, take us back to the old world. For our land, we go back to the land. The land is we're not in the land, we're in the fiction world. We gotta get back to the land, the real world. So we gotta build this Ark. All the Moors gotta be able to get on this Ark. So we can dock back into our land and get off the fiction plane, the water, off the vessels that we float on the water. See, we not on land, fiction. A fiction plane, meaning that we don't even exist because we consider creatures of the law. They created a play. They're the directors, the producers, and the creator of the book. They wrote a character. The character is called Afro-American, Negro, Indian, Puerto Rican. All these nationalities are created because anytime you bring a claim up of Moor, Moroccan or Moors, like France did, France said native Moors, France said native Mexican, they said native American, they said native Indian, they said native Moor. Why did France say native Moor? Because they are the sovereigns of the land. And once we come together and self-determine among ourselves, we have to make sure we set up plans, a scam and scheme to protect our people that don't know, unconscious. So we open up schools, media, we can protect them, that structure we got. That when all the people come together as aid and come together in their own providence, in their own regions, and form their own more state, and come together and become part of their national government to protect themselves as one solid unity base. That's what it's all about. If we don't do it this way, we can't protect all our people. We will run around here, all we're gonna do is be put in a position where we're gonna be using our own people as merchandise. We do the same thing Europeans doing worse. Using our people as merchandise under de facto names and statuses, using our people as sureties and not protecting them.
Shem, all right, we got 6 minutes because we got RaSirius going at 9 o'clock. We got 6 minutes, we got 2 questions. Vernon.
So hold on, no, wait a minute, hold on, wait, hold on, slow down.
What's going on?
I have P. Bay, who says he couldn't raise his hand, so.
All right, we got P. Bay, we got 6 minutes. We got 3 questions, 6 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
You have the floor.
So my question is that I did reach out to you all about a month ago, but I wanted to know a question as it pertains to Quo Warranto. So I have a pending case at the moment, and my counsel was Lamont Maurice L. but is kidnapped at the moment. And so I had been listening to you all for a while, and I also asked Lamont about what you all were saying about nations and having the consul do the letter of rogatory as well as the Quo Warranto on my behalf. And he said he wasn't able to do that. So what I wanted to know was that because my mother had signed as surety on the case for bond when I got kidnapped, it pretty much voided the paperwork that I had sent them, my letter of quo warrantos and rescission of signatures, because she did not tell me that she hired an attorney for me. So what I wanted to know was that what is the nation that you all are under? What consuls would you all recommend that are registered with the central authority, and where can they be found?
Let me say something. What we talk about now is that something that we started at caucus, we had something going together. We could take all the Moors. Quite frankly, if someone came along and did something that put us in a sabotaging position. What we're doing is now we still moving on. We're getting everybody together. I'm part of a Moorish state, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to bring all the other Moorish states together under one national government. And once you do that, then from one national government, from the head of state, we can issue a notice, what you call an executive order and a resolution for our government, and send to the foreign government, let them know that we got a council that's going to be operating within the political jurisdiction of your state. Once that happens, the council will give notification. The council will get notification from the government to the central authority that they're operating here. The letters are sent out, and a proclamation from the governor, head of state, from the head of state, will be sent out to the head agency of that government. They go to Homeland Security, United States Homeland Security, to all local law enforcement, national local law enforcement, Attorney General office. Now they will know there's a council.
Hold on, Shem. So, sister, we have this class. We started this. This is the Moroccan Post. This is Moroccan Post School of Government and International Law. This is the Moorish Treaty Relations and Consular Relations course. We've had 10 of them. This is the 10th session. This is going to be a 15 to 20 session course. And we've been over the past since August 24th. All right, what we're doing, the reason why this class is free is that we wanted to be able to post it on our YouTube page, Moroccan Post Media YouTube page, so that we can reach thousands, so that people can be able to study. We're going to put starting in February, we're going to put out our first study manual based on the recorded classes. So we have the recorded classes as well as we're going to have study manuals. All right. We are preparing students to become consuls with detailed study. This is what this school is. You're asking for representation now. That's what she's asking. Now. She's asking now. All right, that's what she's asking now. All right, Lamont's locked up. Now, consul, she's asking now. That's what she's asking. All right, so what we're doing is so that we're going to also have an advanced course. We're going to have an advanced course in April for those who've been with us for 6 to 8 months. This is not those who've been by April. You must have been with us for about at least 6 months. All right, that we can. So this is part of preparation to preparing, to have 400 to 400 consuls. All right, so we're going to be looking to spread this.
And let me say something, just so
we got to go. Shem, we got Vernon. We have a speaker. Shem, we have a speaker. Shem, we have a speaker. We got a speaker coming up. So Shem, stay on. We got 2 questions. All right.
Go ahead.
All right, Vernon, go ahead, Vernon. And Usha, you're next. Go ahead, Vernon.
Islam, I just wanted you to, I wanted to say it was an excellent show that Sunday that you did with brother Mosa and everything.
Mhm.
And I love the part where you got in on, he was talking about the packages that these other groups got and how you didn't want any of those packages. Could you reiterate why you didn't want any of those packages? Islam,
Let me do that later, brother, because we gotta one of the students will be presenting. Go ahead, Ushira. Is that how you pronounce your name? Please give me the pronunciation of your name.
My name is Jewish. I
Jewish.
had
Jewish.
I
Thank
had
you. Jewish.
spoken a previous conversation with Shem, and my question was similar to the sisters before, in regards to which we have current situations, or we're going through current situations right now,
Mhm.
and because the consul has not been, or that central authority has not been established yet, how can we handle a situation ourselves?
All right. This is all right. This is where we have.
Let me say this. See, what we're dealing with now is the status that you in. You in an expatriation status as a United States citizen, a resident of the state. Now, the first thing is, you as being a resident of the state, you still got protection under the Bill of Rights, the United Nations Human Bill of Rights. You got protection under the Refugee Treaty. So what you do is you enforce the rights as indigenous. You force your indigenous rights as Aboriginal, and that you protect the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People. You go into court and say, yes, obligation on the United States because the president signed it and Congress ratified it. And under the law, under international law, the United States is committed to enforce, to protect my rights as indigenous to the land. You use in your status, use that.
All right, Shem. This is what's going on. We have two sisters who's with Lamont. There's two sisters here that's with Lamont.
Excuse me, Brother Abdullah. I'm not associated with Lamont.
All right, one sister. One sister.
I'm just saying she had a situation. Yeah. I got a situation myself. Yeah.
We have two sisters with situations, Shem. All right.
Yeah.
And we've been teaching since this course since August the 24th. Step-by-step process. Step by step as far as principles, and then we're getting into the Writ of Quo Warranto. We're going to have a sample, all right, and the next class, which is the fourth Wednesday of December. The fourth Wednesday of December is the next class. We're going to go with it. We'll probably in the second half have a sample, all right. So right now they have current situations. All right, and you're directing them to the I don't want to, because we have a student, and this student has prepared. The student was prepared to speak last week. Was going to present last week. RaSirius was present. He was prepared to speak last week. We had to postpone to today. He spent time preparing. It would be unfair that we continue right now and not give him the opportunity. That would be unfair for him to have put in the work and to prepare to present tonight. That would be unfair.
I understand.
Shem's going to end right now.
All right.
Shem's going to end now, and we're going to bring RaSirius on now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Peace, Shem.
All right. Yes.
Thanks, Shem. All right.
RaSirius. Shem, you're going to have on RaSirius. Are you going to share the screen?
All right.
Okay.
I'm not, hold on, let me, hold on. Oh, shoot, hold on. I am going to. Here you go.
Okay. Trying to share my screen now. Just a second, little technical difficulties with sharing. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Just a
it's
second.
just a photo.
It's just a photo. Okay. All right.
You hit the share
It's
screen at the
not
bottom.
coming up. It's not coming up to share the PowerPoint.
Okay. Do you have the PowerPoint open?
Yes.
Okay. So is there a screen share button at the bottom?
No.
You see a share screen, you hit that.
I hit that.
Hold on. Let me turn my thing off here first. So.
Okay. How about now?
All right, there you go.
Okay. All right, brothers and sisters. I want to say good evening. I want to give honors to Noble Drew Ali. I want to give honors to Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I want to give honors to all the prophets and messengers who came before us. And I definitely want to give honors to Brother Abdullah and Brother Shem for even taking the task up right now to correct a lot of the misinformation that we've been given as a nation.
You're muted, brother.
So we've been talking about how to actually set up a proper, and I'm going to say proper, political body, because there is not one as of yet. As the brother said, Morocco is asleep. She's sleeping now, and all of these classes, everything we're doing right now is the process of waking Morocco up. All right. We've been dealing with the political side. I'm going to get into the basics of a little bit of divine dealing with mathematics. So, and in 9 is the nature, we're dealing with 9 in nature and in the universe. So why is 9 so important? Now, one aspect of 9 is that it's involved in every aspect of science, as well as a very important part of the mathematical system. Today, I want to talk about how it applies to spirit. Now, spirit in its original etymology is breath. You hear it talked about by those from Hindustan when they get into talking about yoga or pranayama yoga. These sciences are sciences that our people created. These sciences are universal. These sciences are also being used against us. Now, the universe is geometry. The universe is mental. All is numbers. Geometry is the key to unlocking cosmic patterns behind creation and a harmonic blueprint of the universe, reflected in all living things. Geometry unveils the knowledge of the master builder and grand architect of the universe. The ancient knowledge of numbers, time. See. Now, dealing with the harmonics of breathing, we typically think that breathing is just one aspect of yoga, and then the rest of it is the asanas, what they call the positions and things like that. When you get into really understanding what those positions actually deal with different bases of geometry. And it actually deals with those bases in geometry as it applies to your breathing aspect. Now, normally, The adult breathes an average of 18 breaths per minute when subjected to very light activity or seated at rest. When we are concentrating heavily on a subject, our rate of breathing automatically drops to about 9 breaths per minute. Now, we may have noticed that usually protracted concentration work readily runs into a state of sleepiness. This is due to the diminished intake of air. Now, to induce trance, the meditator lowers the rate of breathing to the 77.5 breaths per minute, or 6 or 4.5 or 3, depending on the type of trance you're trying to go into. Now, each rate tunes us into a different level of consciousness. It's important to note that all books on meditation that instruct to breathe slower betray that the author lacks mastery of the subject, because it's not about just breathing slower. You know, we tend to think that we breathe at a slow rate and that's supposed to be all that's needed for meditation, but no, there's a harmonic to it. To continue, all things vibrate, including the human spirit and body. Each thing vibrates to a specific key. The vibrating mechanism of the human body is the breathing system. When we are seated at rest, the spirit vibrates, we breathe, at 18 waves per minute. Comparing the cyclical values of our respiratory and circulatory systems with that of the solar system yields some very revealing facts. Let's begin with the fact that there is a 1-to-4 ratio between our breathing and pulse rates, at 18 breaths per minute to 72 pulses per minute. All right. And the rate of the Earth's rotation at the time it takes to rotate 1 degree every 4 minutes. A good meditation objective would be to see if the 1-to-4 relationship between our between our breathing and pulsation rate was determined by the clocking mechanism that controls the Earth's rotation around its axis. The average rate of 18 breaths per minute equals 25,920 breaths per day. Now, this figure of 25,920 corresponds to the number of years that it takes the North Pole to trace a complete circle in the heavens in its processional movement. This pretty much means that it takes the North Pole to go through all 12 signs of the zodiac, which each sign of the zodiac is based in 30 degrees to complete a 360-degree circle. So the North Pole goes through each sign of the zodiac in 30-degree increments. All right. Now, the 25,920 corresponds to the number of years that it takes the North Pole to trace a complete circle in the heavens in its processional movement. The significance of this relationship has been known for thousands of years, although its true meaning has been lost to all authors since the destruction of the Temple of Luxor. Now, 25,920 years is broken up into 12 for each sign of the zodiac. So each sign of the zodiac has 30 degrees. So each sign of the zodiac has a certain amount of years that's attached to it to equal up to the 25,920. What you'll come to find out is that those years are 2,160 years per zodiac, which we call an age. All right. Let's see. The knowledge of the harmonics of breathing survives veiled in Hindu allegory of the yugas and Chaldean sacred cycles of the Saros and Naros. According to Hindu allegory, man has not always behaved as he currently does. There was a time when all men were honest and truthful. This was during the first of the 4 ages in which the history of mankind is divided. This age we call the Golden Age, or Krita Yuga, or Satya Yuga. Satya meaning truth or honesty, and lasted for 1,728,000 years. It was followed by other ages in which man's goodness and power degenerated by degrees. Following the Golden Age was the Silver Age, known as Tetra Yuga. It lasted 1,296,000 years. This was followed by the Copper Age called Dvapara Yuga. and lasted 864,000 years. The last age in which we now are living supposedly started in 3150 BC with the death of Lord Krishna, and is the Iron Age, which is known as Kali Yuga, and will last for 432,000 years. Together, they add up to a great period or Mahayuga of 4,320,000 years. Now, here's where the math comes in. If you haven't noticed yet by now, each yuga that they're talking about, those numbers, 1,728,000 years, 864,000 years, 432,000 years, 4,320,000 years. If you add all the numbers up, they all give you a balance of 9. If you add every single digit in each of those numbers, you will break it down to one single digit and they will all equal up to 9. Continue. Most books on Hindu culture simply mention this allegory or unprovable scientific fact and leave it at that. Now, if we compare these cycles to those of the solar system, we discover some startling correspondences. It was said earlier that the North Pole describes a complete circle backward through the zodiac in a period of 25,920 years. It moves at a rate of 1 degree each 72 years. The number of our pulses per minute, by the way, as there are 30 degrees in a zodiacal sign or age, it takes 2,160 or 72 times 30 years to span a sign or an age. As there are 12 signs in a zodiac, it takes 25,920 years. So the 2,160 times 12 gives you the 25,920. 2160 is still 9. 7 and 2, 72 is still 9. We already know 360 degrees, 3 and 6 is still 9. To span the 12 signs of the zodiac. The key figures here are the period of 25,920 years and the 12 signs of the zodiac. The division of the period of 25,920 years by the 12 zodiac signs and its factors. Let's see. 1 second. So here's the breakdown and what it would look like for each yuga. So the whole cycle is broken down into ages, is broken down and divided into its different parts. You divide it by 12, it's broken into 2,160 years, which they call an age. If you break it down by 6, it's 4,320. Add them same numbers up, come up to the same thing, 9. 6,480, 9. 8,640, 9. 12,960, 9. And of course, back to the original 25,920, 9. So they say the missing age is Krish, which is Krita, is 4 times 4,320 times 100, which is 1,728,000. Once again, 9. They get into talking about it even with vibration. Hence the vibration rates. They come out to the same thing. We can look at this as coincidence, but these same ratios, it seemed like the Hindustan, they kept that aspect or that understanding and that science, and they put it even into the yoga and the things that they deal with on the regular. You will see the science of the number 9 in many things that we deal with. This is just a way of breaking it down through vibration, through the harmonics of breathing, through something that we do on the regular. Now we say that carbon-based man, which is what we are, functions on 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons. There we go once again with the 666, making it back to 18. So the mark of the beast, we could say the mark of the beast, which is 666, not only denotes the carbon element that is within us that melanin comes from, but we can also look at it from a breathing rate perspective where at 18 breaths per minute, we are breathing the mark of the beast. We are a walking, breathing beast in itself. And it takes the denial of certain breaths, not the slowness of our intake of breath, It's not how slow we breathe, but how we breathe. That's why those ratios are important. To intake that breath, you also have to do different exercises to compare with that as well. Now, the geometry aspect of it, geometry explores and explains the patterns that unify and reveal the structure of the creation within all natural patterns of growth or movement and their conformity with geometric shapes. All life forms emerge out of timeless geometric codes. Viewing and contemplating these codes allow us to understand the wisdom of the inner workings of the universe in order to fully comprehend and appreciate its beauty. Based on the concept of proportions, the very laws of how things are allowed to be by the divine will are the laws of the harmony of being, ancient measures of cycles of time and their significance, regulating societies in accordance with the laws of nature, reconnecting to the ancient principles of creation through geometry. Sound is the basis of form and shape, sacred numbers embedded in the measure of time and solar system architecture, time, space, and numbers. So even with the shapes that we deal with, they talk about something called the 5 platonic solids. When you get into studying that, you'll get into the basis of what masonry uses, what the Hindustan use, what our ancient mothers and fathers use, what the Moors use. All of these things that they're using now, we use them as navigational principles. There were things to measure cycles, to measure time. Those cycles didn't just compose to the astrological. It wasn't just the measuring of stars and things like that. We actually measured our breath, our cycles of breathing, the things that's necessary for us to slow down or to composite ourselves in the way of breathing, whether it be shallow or deep breathing, because all of that affects the trance that you put your mind into in order to obtain certain things, in order to enter into certain realms of consciousness to where you can pull something back out. You know, science today or Western science, they tell us to breathe slowly, close your eyes, focus on one thing. They don't add into that fact that sometimes in trance, we deal with sound and vibration. We deal with shapes and patterns and geometry. All of this is composed of the universal principles that we use that make us us. These are all tools that we use. Some glorify the tools, but it's not the tools that should be glorified. It's the way that it's placed in the universe. It's the way that it's supposed to be utilized by us. Everything that Brother Ab and Brother Shem and some of the other brothers that's in the classes with me and everything, what they're bringing is showing you that we are coming back to putting things in their proper format and positioning. We are putting it back in proper form. We are inviting everyone to come and assist us with this. This is not a plan that was not in Noble Drew Ali's plan. This is what Noble Drew Ali wanted as well. But we have to know who we are, and everything has to go through stages. Everybody is not supposed to know everything at one time. If you look at the about my background, you look at the misconceptions that we've gone through for the last 29 to 30 years. Brothers running around talking about they U.S. national. You know, brothers or ancestors as well, running around talking about their U.S. nationals. They're, you know, a lot of the battles, we supposed to go to court and do it this way. You're not supposed to go to court at all. Running around talking about, yeah, I'm a consul, but where's the backing and who sent you to be a consul? All of these things we are trying to get back and get into its proper form. The math that I'm breaking down to you is showing you that it's more than just politics. It's more than just nationality. These things have been around us for ages, and we just lost that knowledge. Morocco is asleep. Morocco needs to awaken on more than one level, not just nationally, not just politically, not just ecclesiastically. We have to wake up divinely as well. This is a divine and national movement. the way that we breathe, the way that we diet, the things that we do. All of these things are important. No, everybody's not going to agree to the same thing, but we have to admit that all of these things are important in sustaining and setting things up. You may not want to diet or do anything in that fashion. However, it may be beneficial for somebody around you. So even though you may not partake in it, someone else will. Everybody that's Moorish American is not a vegan. But at the same time, we still understand the vegan science and that diet, that way of dieting. So we don't shun them or anything. We don't ridicule them. It's just their way of doing it. It's their dietary culture. To go back to this, here's the image of the tetrahedron, one of the 5 platonic solids. And I say platonic solids, but it's not really a platonic solid. They're just calling it that because it applies to Plato, but that's another story. Now, 4 triangles facing 4 angles of 180 degrees. 4 times 180 is 720, and each deacon is 720 years and 720 miles. The division of the zodiac in the 36 10-degree portions is called a decan. The word decade and deacon share the same root word, deca, which means 10. All right, so there are 36 deacons, each having 10 degrees. Deacons first appeared in the 10th dynasty on coffin, 2100 BCE, on coffin lids. The sequence of these is, am I still being heard?
Yes.
Okay. There are 36 deacons, each having 10 degrees. Deacons first appeared in the 10th dynasty, 2100 before Christian era, on coffin lids. The sequence of these star patterns began with Salus or Sirius, and each deacon contained a set of stars and corresponding divinities. As measures of time, the rising and setting of deacons mark hours and groups of 10 days, which comprised an Egyptian year. The ancient book of Nut covers the subject of the deacons. And for those who know Nut, the book of Nut is a Kemetic or Egyptian book. The deacons are 36 groups of stars used in the ancient Egyptian astronomy. They rose consecutively on the horizon throughout each Earth rotation. The rising of each deacon marked the beginning of a new decanal hour of the night for the ancient Egyptians. And they were used as a sidereal star clock beginning by at least the 9th or 10th dynasties. A new deacon appears helically every 10 days. That is, every 10 days, a new deaconic star group reappears in the eastern sky at dawn, right before the sun rises, at a period of being obscured by the sun's light. The diameter of the moon is 2,160 miles. There's that 9 again. Significance of the secret and powerful number 108 that has accompanied humankind for thousands of years. The diameter of the moon is 2,160 miles. The radius of the moon is 1,080 miles. According to Vedic cosmology, number 108 is the basis of creation, and it represents our universe and the whole of our existence. There are 108 beads in the Buddhist jambalaya prayer beads. Most of the rituals followed in India are strongly connected with this number, 108. Number 108 has its profound significance in Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. Vedic sages who dealt with astronomy and mathematics consider 108 a magic number associated with the perfection and success. On New Year's Eve in Japan, the bell is chimed 108 times in Buddhist temples to finish the old year and welcome the new one. Each ring represents one of 108 earthly temptations a person must overcome to achieve nirvana. Now, here they're talking about Japan, yet here we still seeing this number 9. Everything with the science of this number 9 applies a lot all through creation and the universe. Bring it in even more. The number 432, the radius of the sun and the harmonic sound. radius of the sun in miles, diameters of the sun and moon retune the planet. Interestingly, the leading acoustician in Beethoven's time was Ernest Clodney, the godfather of semantics. His music theory textbook explicitly defined C as 256/512 hertz, the scientific tuning. The A above middle C in a standard scale is 432. Perhaps this is to do with 432 squared, which is 186,624. There's your 9 again. Being within 1% accuracy of the speed of light, 186,282 miles per second, which also resolves to a 9. Most of the time when Western science tells you what the speed of light is, they just give you 186,000. They're dealing with round offs and estimates. They're not dealing in precise mathematics. The square root of the measured speed of light is 431.6. By deductive reasoning, we might speculate that notes tuned relative to a 432 harmonize directly with the light body auric fields, allowing the vibrations to penetrate and through entrainment, bring your energetic essence into balance. Entrainment is the tendency for a strong vibration to influence a weaker vibration. Inversely, a 440 tuning may produce a dissonant or agitative effect on the aura mind, and anything that disturbs DNA will create contradications in the aura due to DNA innate sound light translation mechanism. The human aura, of course, is the closest thing we have yet been able to point to as consciousness or mind in the manifest measurable world, as is demonstrated in the grand illusion, a synthesis of science and spirituality. So we already know, just being melanated people alone, or even looking at botany, if you play certain music or certain frequencies around certain flowers, or hey, even certain people, most of us, if we feel that vibration enough, we have to move. We may not be into certain types of music because of, let's say, you might not listen to gospel, something because it's Christian. It doesn't mean anything. Music is music. It don't matter where it comes from. The vibration, the tonation, and the foundation of the sound that's coming out. How many of us here have listened to some gospel music and we just, one of them sisters hit something that hit that heart chakra and you just feel it. You just feel it. You can't touch it, but it touched you. So we know sound vibration, which sound vibration is actually what creates geometric patterns. So when you get into all of this, even the science of a square, 490-degree angles, triangles, 180 degrees, circle, 360 degrees, split it in half is 180 degrees each. So you take two triangles and unfold them, you got your 360 and two 180-degree horizontal lines, depending on how you unfold it. And yeah, these pretty much is where I got most of my information, which is pretty much in most of Brother Abdullah's books, as well as a book called Metsunetter Volume 1 by a brother named Raul Nefer Amen. The information, everything I'm dealing with the science of number 9, that doesn't even get into the other mathematics that we deal with. Everything we deal with, the science of math, is even in our rituals, the rituals that we do daily, the things that we do to breathe. When you get into the origin or the root etymology of what a ritual actually even is, a ritual comes from a rite. And what is a rite? A rite comes from arithmos. Arithmos means mathematics or arithmetic. So it all boils right back down to simple rites, the simple rituals. Everything we do still goes back down, and they're nothing but mathematical formulas to help us go through either the things that we need to do on the daily or the things that we need to do over certain cycles and periods of time. The breathing mechanisms that we utilize, that's our spirit. Spirit is nothing but breath. And if spirit is nothing but breath, that means how we breathe. We walk around saying that, you know, our brothers and sisters, yeah, I'm spiritual. Really? How do you breathe? How spiritual are we really? If we can't breathe
man.
properly.
My man.
So on that, I rest.
Excellent. Excellent. You get an A plus plus a cookie. An A plus plus a cookie. Excellent. Woo, man. Oh, man. Let me. Oh, my goodness. Brother. Woo. I appreciate you, brother. Oh, my God. I was just enjoying every second. You know,
I appreciate the love.
Because you really gave the a wonderful, man, wonderful presentation, a great explanation of the word spirit, man. I remember when I met Dr. Sabi I'm here in Philadelphia at Temple University. Brother Ahmed, who since to transition, Brother Ahmed brought Dr. Sabi to Temple University. I was vending there at the event at Anderson Hall. And I just happened to walk on into the auditorium where Dr. Sabi was speaking. And I walked in because, you know, I was vending. So the vendors stood, you know, vended outside of the auditorium. At the time that I walked in to the auditorium, Dr. Sabi was on the section where he was talking about the word spirit. And he said that nobody knows the meaning of spirit. They're misusing the word spirit. And I already knew the etymology of it. I've known the etymology of the word spirit for a while at that time. He said, yeah, spirit means breath. I said, yeah. You gave a detail. What you did was you connected the word spirit and it set them in the bin. It's culture setting. It was excellent. You know, how you connected the word spirit, its application. And you begin to see how the word spirit is lost through connotation, its true meaning and application. I mean, it was just a wonderful presentation, brother.
I appreciate it, brother.
Let's hear some feedback, y'all. Let's get what are your thoughts? Any questions before we get into any feedback? Any questions?
Islam,
Any questions?
Murray Bay. Are you familiar with pranayama and holy breathing as stated in the Quran? Pranayama.
I'm familiar with it mostly from the Hindustan aspect and studying it, you know, from their writings for the most part, not so much the Quran.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, the Quran was just like a easier way to. Well, it doesn't go into how you breathe and all that, but how you connect with the spirit world through breathing. Because you know, by holy breathing, it exalts the power of the mind. And it always talks about meditation and breathing. By breathing, we merge with the spirit world by certain breaths. Inhalation, you hold the breath. Exhalation, you hold the breath also. This bonds you with the ethers in the air or the atoms in the air. That's pranayama. Spiritual breathing, control breathing to merge with and magnetize in the air. Is that what you was talking about with the 9 breaths?
Yeah, because now the aspect of where what I was reading was coming from was a book called Metsu Neter. Now, Metsu Neter by Raun Nefer Amen is part of the Asar Set Society. it's a few volumes that it has. That particular breathing exercises that I like to do comes from that book, and they call it menabs. So the way of breathing and meditating through menabs, it goes through the same way you said, when you inhale, you hold it. When you exhale, you hold it. But at the same time, you have to fill your abdomen and your belly with the different breathing patterns. So when you intake breath, your stomach or abdomen should expand. It shouldn't stay the way that it is. Otherwise, you're not breathing properly anyway. Any inhalation of breath should expand your abdomen. Any exhalation of your breath should, suck in your abdomen. And then you have your focus points at the same time that you're doing all of this. The ratio that you're breathing at the same time, all of this, everything is part of it. It's a universal thing, regardless of what people or what nationality or nation breaks it down. Whether you're dealing with yoga from the pranayama aspect, whether you're dealing with the Quran, whether you're dealing with the Kemetic systems of pranayama and yoga and all of that, because what you'll come to find out is most of what they talk about in the Pert Hem Heru, or what they call the book of coming forth by day and coming forth by day and night, that breaks a lot of that down as well. It's about bringing us back in touch with the divine that's within us. A lot of us speak on the law, but we don't really know what a law is.
The reason I said that, because I was diagnosed with cancer some years back, right? So a whole year I meditated. I knew how to do pranayama breathing because I understood that oxygenated blood kills cancer, right? So I did this for a year, no medicine, came back to the doc, no, the cancer couldn't be found. All that came from oxygenating my blood, keeping my blood oxygenated by slow and controlled pranayama type breathing and meditation. So you can oxygenate your blood by controlled breathing, like I said, with the slowly inhale, what you like you say, from the belly, then exhale, slowly inhale, hold it, exhale. Because as you inhale, your lungs absorbs the oxygen out the air, and as you exhale, the tube that the veins or arteries that's connected to the lungs will push that oxygen into the blood. So that's what I was talking about when you was talking about listening to you using the the number 9 and all that. I just say 9 breaths. 9 breaths per minute put you here. 4 breaths per minute put you in a state of a higher state. 4 breaths, like 5 breaths per minute put you in another higher state of consciousness. That's all I was elaborating on, brother. That's it. Peace. But good presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother. And don't forget, a lot of what's being broken down is all connected anyway. I have sickle cell anemia, and pretty much these exercises help me. I'm 48 years old. At the same time, I haven't had a sickle cell crisis now in probably about maybe anywhere between 11 and 13 years. All right. And I have sickle cell anemia, definitely. And usually by 48, usually in our 20s, they're trying to take our spleen and things like that. I grew up with Jehovah's Witness parents. I'm supposed to get a transfusion, blood transfusion or blood exchange every month. I grew up with Jehovah's Witness parents and grandparents, and they don't do any of that. And I've never had any of that. But I have this terminal disease that they keep telling me I have. And I've been doing the same things, doing, just basic yoga, meditation. I don't even get into it as deep as what we were reading, but I get into it deep enough where it keeps me out of the hospital.
Yeah,
and
breathing
I
is
haven't had a crisis at all.
Yeah, breathing is a high yoga science, a yogi science, not yoga, but I'm gonna say yogi science. It's a yogi science. How you heal yourself, because Jesus did that. He used to heal people with the breath. So that's a more thing. If you study the Quran, you'll see that. But yeah, that's a high, very high yogi science. I would just say that since more people are not familiar with the holy breath of the Quran, and you know, with Jesus, the schools and stuff, the schools of mystery schools.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, nice presentation, brother, and thanks for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother. Any other questions?
Excellent job, no question. Excellent job. I really enjoyed your math. I enjoy everything. I mean, you really studied. Abdullah did some work with you, you know, in a short period of time. Although you were reading it, you were internalizing it as you studied in order to prepare. You got it. You got it. You really got it, and I can hear it in your presentation. You got to the point where you talked about the protons, neutrons, and electrons. You mentioned the 6, 6, and the 6. Well, yes, that's 18. When we take a look at 18, we come back to the number 9 again. And what that's talking about with those neutrons, protons, electrons, is talking about the human body. It's talking about the temple. And the temple has the protons, the neutrons, and electrons. The reason why it goes back to 9 is 9 is a divine number, because 9 is in everything that we do. It's in our breath. It's in the way we break down our breath. It's in as far as the breathing that you went into. So I'm not going to go into that presentation again, but you also mentioned 9, and when you mentioned chakras, well, there are 12 chakras. 12 main chakras, coming with the crown chakra is 12, but there are 9 chakras, 9 major chakras. So that's where 9 comes up again. You take a look at the planets. We have 9 original planets. We may not have those 9 now, but we had 9 original planets. And in the temple in the wilderness, there are 9 levels of movement in the temple that the priest had to go through from the gate all the way up. So that's 9. But again, what is that reflecting? It always has to go back to, when they say planets, they say bodies. They say these are the bodies. What are they talking about? They're talking about the temple. What is the temple? The temple, you mentioned masonry, right? Going in and walking into the, what is it? What is the lodge called? The temple. Everything is reflected back around the temple, and it is again represented 9. Why? We have 9 officers in the Grand Lodge. In the local lodge, there's 9. 9 is always the center piece. 9 in government, you have 12, but 9 major and 3 minor. So you're still looking at the number 9 as the core. You did an excellent job. And I just had, and then the other thing, I'm gonna say last thing here is, when you talk about 9, again, 9 is completeness. Yes, 7 talks about perfection, but 9 talks about completeness. 9 is the end of a phase, not an end of an age. The age, and what we take a look at, is the 2,160 years. That gives us 9. That's the end of an age. However, that is the longest age that we have, is 2,160 years. Excellent, 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 excellent. And I put a private text to you, and I said, you know, that's a real interesting. We gonna talk offline because we don't have time right now. I'm gonna get your number from Abdullah. I'm gonna do it that way. But you got a real interesting thing there. Hold on, okay. You're talking, but your thing is muted.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the chat. I'll put my number in the chat.
Yeah, and you didn't have to mention lodge to me for me to understand something, because I'm looking behind you, and I said this before you even got started. I said, that's an interesting ass picture you got representing behind you. That's a whole nother lecture. That's a whole nother lecture. But I'm gonna talk to your ass tonight about that picture though.
We're gonna definitely build. We can build.
Man, and the way you got the Moroccan flag wrapped around wrapped around the night. We'll get into that. That'll be another lecture. Me, you, and Abdullah get on that one, and we'll talk about that one, because if anyone's gonna talk about that picture behind you, it's gonna be me. Now you can aid me with it, and Abdullah can support us, but damn it, I'm gonna spearhead that one. And excellent job. That's all I wanted to say. That's excellent.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Islam, is you familiar with using telepathy with controlled breathing? That's a yogi science. Using how to use telepathy by controlled breathing. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard of something a little similar, but it gets into something called Nova and things like that. When you're dealing with different magi sciences, they get into certain things like that. But in order to even bring out the aspect of telepathy, you got to be right in so many other aspects of yourself. You know, even with something like that, you would think diet is not important, you know, but it is. You know, the cycles that we use when we eat, the cycles that we use to allow us to digest food, these cycles are important if you want to do or exercise those things like telepathy and things like that. Now, the closest I've come to that science is joining of the mind. So I practiced something a long time ago called, well, not a long time ago, but I practiced something called Nova, a science that was introduced to me by Dr. Hannibal Bay. And it took me a long time, but the first time I did it, it took me about, honestly, it probably took me about 2 to 3 years of trying to do it, you know, because it's all based in frequency, wavelength, diet, your breath. Your breath controls your vibration. So if your vibration is not on point, you're not telepathically doing anything. You know what I mean? So it's more than just the breathing. It's a lot to it to even be able to tap into exercise those certain gifts, if one wants to, for lack of a better word to call it, but to tap into those type of gifts, then yeah, you need to have a few more things on point than pranayama. You need to have diet on point. You need to have your thought process even on point. You have to be able to, like they say, still your thoughts. The Bible says, be still and know that I am God. So when you learn to still your thoughts, all of that goes, and just even to even be able to do that while dealing with meditation, while at the same time focusing on one thing, while at the same time breathing a certain way to have a certain vibration that'll in tune you to be able to do any type of telepathy. Yeah, you need to be on point a lot. I learned that the hard way.
Any
Hopefully I
other
answered.
questions?
Another question. We have 5 minutes.
Islam, yes, I have one. I have one question as far as your breathing technique and your diet technique, in corresponding the two together will eventually lead you. I don't know if it led you to having the plants reach out and touch you, and the trees and the living organisms beneath you, being able to reach out and touch you and grab, not grab you, but reach out and touch you. And I yield after that.
Definitely. I got to feel myself one with a tree. I've done it. I started off as small as a bush. I tried to do it with a cat, but it didn't work out too much with that one. You know, but
not to cut your wisdom, but since you brought up the cat, you also have, I don't know if you have, but able to correspond with an animal to control their thoughts, not to control their thoughts, but knowing what their thoughts are and they knowing your thoughts. And I yield.
Tried that, not a master yet. Definitely will admit that. The form of Nava that I practice, well, that's what it's called. When you try to, they say it's to unify your spirit with another living entity's spirit. It's not so much on that vibe of unifying the spirit as it is to feel the essence to where you can, in a sense, be telepathic with that other life form. Now, when I tried it with the cat, I could feel the cat, but I don't know if the cat could feel me. All right, but I wasn't able to place myself in enough to see out the cat's eyes, put it that way. When
Well,
I merge with the plant in the tree, you feel the air differently when you become one with something like a plant or a tree. You feel the air even different. It's I want to be able to describe it in a proper way. It just amazed me and it set me. It wasn't like a peace. It was a stillness. Like I almost don't know how to describe it. I think if you talk to me again, I can give you a better explanation because it was such a, like, it made me cry. So I can't really describe why it made me cry.
probably because you came within oneness of whatever you was entwined with, so it gave you a oneness. I noticed if you go on a completely raw vegetable and fruit diet, you'll come out a little bit better. And I'll yield the floor.
I appreciate your light and wisdom, brother.
I just want to respond yes to that question. You can feel the vibration of another being telepathically. Can you communicate? As far as the thought, anything you can do it through vibration. So yes, you can communicate through the vibration, through the thought, but you have to be so concentrated and you have to be so clear that you can actually control a movement. If you get into this, all of these things we see in movies and we're amazed at and all this other stuff, trying to figure things out. And, you know, we see Sinbad and they put a lot of shit in cartoons, a whole lot of stuff in cartoons. And we see Tom and Jerry, they flying on the magic carpet and they got a turban going on and doing all this other stuff, and poof, they appear, poof, they disappear. That's going through, we talk about the temple again, that's going through different veils. And you're able to cross those veils, but the fact that with your mind, and it can get really deep, and it can get satanic to the point that it's dangerous, because if you have that knowledge, but you're not of a clean spirit, or you're not of a clean mindset, then what ends up happening is you can cause a lot of damage, and you can lose yourself, because you get on that other side of that veil and you come back, and that you bring that energy with you. So yeah, you can. I'm gonna say yes to that question. And we need to explore that more, because that's our culture, but that can change a lot of things for us. We see things, we speak things, we feel certain things. You can feel sick and then be sick.
Mm-hmm.
You can state that you're sick and be sick. The reverse is you can think, heal, 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 heal. You can take a cancerous ball like the size of my fist
Mm-hmm.
into nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be on that wavelength. You have to be on a vibration that is the frequency is so high, and the vibration goes from a loud and so yeah, but we got to get into this, man. It's more than, I mean, yeah, we're forming our government and everything. We're restoring our culture. We're restoring God back to earth. This is more than just one or two little things here and there, whatever the case it is. This is, we got to get it together. We got to keep doing what we're doing right now. And we got to go out and we got to research and keep on studying the practices, the modalities that we're involved in and the sciences. And we have to put it, we are responsible for bringing heaven on earth. That's the task. That's the real task. Now we looking at it only because we're looking at it from a physical standpoint, saying, well, we're getting our land back, we're getting government in the whole 9 yards. All of that is true. But the fact of the matter is, we're bringing divinity back to earth. So that means you have to be clean. You have to be clean. And the only way we're going to be able to do it, RaSirius is not going to be able to do it by himself. P-Bay can't do it by himself. The reason why we can't do these things by ourselves is because iron sharpens iron. We need each other. We need each other. You know what I'm saying? Don't go back to blunts tomorrow. Don't go back to crack tomorrow. No, for real, because there's demons, man. Let's speak this shit. Yeah. There's demons that we on this line are struggling with. Now, your demons may not be the same as the next guy, or the things that you're dealing with may not be destructive. I'll say destruction instead of demons, but let's just call this thing what it is. We have to be able to be strong enough and vulnerable enough to say, hey, this is what it is that I'm doing. But the fact of the matter is, this is how I'm improving this. And you come back to the table and you say, hey, this is what I found out. This is what I've learned. And we eventually, maybe next year, maybe by summer, we go into certain, like, hey, you're going to be the health team. You're going to be the so-and-so team. You're going to be the such and such. And we all put this thing together because we have a bigger task than we even thinking about. We're thinking about land and we're thinking about our culture and stuff, but all of that is a part of us restoring, restoration. So I yield the floor on that. But yes,
yeah, I agree with that whole aspect of the political bodies and the government itself needs to be restored, because we need to be even protected to even practice our culture in a proper fashion. So I can't practice being a magi if I'm being oppressed by, not having my land in an area that's unaffected by a bunch of power lines and power wires. To be able to express the culture in its proper format, to even be able to become, a magi, the political body and everything needs to be set up, because that's our protection. So this is definitely important. It's definitely a reformation. And just like we're going to need that political body politic, we're going to need that same magi body politic, or the priest class that's going to exercise the other aspect of this as well.
Once again, brother, excellent job, man. Excellent job. I wrap my turban and tip my fist to you, brother. All right, this class will be uploaded.
Hey, Abdullah, yes. I want to have that one more question. P-Bay had her hand up for a good while. Last question, and then we can wrap it on up.
Hi, thank you. And thank you for that presentation, brother. That was excellent. I have a lot of appreciation for the number 9 myself. And so my birthday is on the 9th. I wanted to piggyback on what you were saying to Brother DuPont. I have encouraged our community also as well, and my elders too, that our indigenous sacraments are so important in conjunction with breath work for us being able to activate our spiritual bodies. Especially like for me personally, like my journeys with, our indigenous sacraments, such as like even psilocybin at high dosages has enabled me to be able to connect with my cats in a different level, where I get to hear their thoughts, how they actually feel, and them being my protectors in the spiritual realm. Because just like what this brother was saying here, is that when you start to go into those dimensions, things can get very dark, and you get to see exactly what obstacles are in your way, what disagreeable entities or demonic energies are actually at play, because we're at war on so many levels with the fluoride, the food, the air, and so many different things. And so what our indigenous sacraments enable us to do is to decalcify the pineal gland so that we can see further and connect with everything that's around us. So I talk about that on my Medicated Moors page, is that the thing that we're going through, more importantly, is something spiritual. This is why we have been so dismantled for so long, is because there has been no emphasis on building up our spiritual bodies. So I just wanted to add to that. Thank you so much for your presentation, and I yield the floor.
Sister, what is your name? What's your page that you do your
Medicated Moors on Instagram. So I educate people on indigenous sacraments, and we also host retreats and things like that too.
Medicated Moors? Okay.
So put that in the chat, please. Put that in the chat. Just type that in the chat. Give you a few minutes while I make the end, this end it. You're gonna put that in the chat. Thank you. So we can support you. It's on Instagram. Medicated Moors. It's Instagram. All right. All right, we got it. Yeah. All right, Medicated Moors.
Yes,
IG.
you'll see it. It's a mushroom with a fez on. Mm-hmm. When you see it on IG.
Mm-hmm. Mushroom with a fez. All right. All right. So what's it? Mascara? What's it? Mascara mushroom? Red and white. Hallucinogenic.
Yes.
That's the red and white mushroom. Is symbolic. The red and white candy cane is symbolic of the mascara mushroom, which is the red and white mushroom. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So. All right. Thank you once again. This class will be uploaded tomorrow. We're gonna say tomorrow, and on the Moroccan Post Media YouTube page, as well as the other courses. We have the Moorish Body Politic, Government, and Constitutional Principles course, which is a 12-session course on the Moroccan Post Media YouTube page. We also have these. I think this is the 10th session of this Moorish Treaty Relations and Consular, Moorish Treaty Protection and Consular Relations course. We'll have about, I don't know how many more sessions we're going to have. We'll continue with part 2 of the Writ of Quo Warranto. Part 2 on the fourth Wednesday of December. The next class, what date is that? Steve, give me the date.
Wednesday the 20th. It's right up there on the screen. Wednesday the 28th.
All right, right on the screen, y'all. All right, Wednesday, December 28th. Same bat channel. We'll see y'all Wednesday, December 28th. Also, December 14th lecture has been. It's going to be rescheduled. I talked to K. Shaka and his wife today. We're going to reschedule that. All right, so we got to have a meeting. We haven't come up with a new date, but we're going to reschedule the New York Brooklyn lecture. That's going to be rescheduled. All right. Well, once we get that, I'll post that flyer. All right. We are going to do so once these are my books: Moors and Masonry, Masonic Compass Square, and the Connection and Measurement of Kind Keeping, Illuminati and Illumination of the Mind, How Her Venus and Moon Rule, Etymology and Vocabulary. Etymology and Vocabulary is something that you won. And coming your way soon and very soon, the Moors and Masonry Part 2, the Power of Moorish Treaties, and the Recovery of Lost Moorish Sovereignty. I am scheduled to be on Moorish TV, Moorish World TV, Tahaka, tomorrow. He informed me that his situation came up and it may be rescheduled. So I'll let you know if it's done. If we're gonna have it tomorrow, we're gonna have this flyer ready tomorrow. I'll send that flyer out. If it's not, because I did send out announcement to about maybe 20 people that I will be on this show. The topic is masonry a culture and science or a secret society? That is going to be the feature article. That title will be the feature article of my next issue of the Masonic Gate newspaper. The next issue of my Masonic Gate newspaper coming your way in the spring. That will be the feature. That will be the feature title. That'll be the title of the feature article. Is masonry a culture and science or a secret society? All right, and I'll let you know tomorrow about if I want to be on this. If it's scheduled to be at 8 o'clock tomorrow night on what's the thing? Moorish World News, Moorish World TV, and but he'll let me know tomorrow. All right, so Moroccan Post Media YouTube page. I appreciate everyone. All right. Thank you for tuning in. And look, take your time, study the videos, study the classes, take your notebook out, take notes. These are very, very good, wonderful classes, man. All right. So we see y'all. I may see y'all tomorrow. And we'll see y'all December 28th. All right. And please study the classes. All right, peace, everyone.
Peace, peace.
I just want to say for the YouTube viewers that the Zoom link will be in the description. So the Zoom link will be in the description. Just wanted to say that. All right, peace, everyone, and see you on the 28th.
Peace, family.
Peace.